Hello, just a quick comparison video for you today. Here we have two microphones. One is the AKG C414, and the other is the Aston Stealth. Two completely different types of microphone, although they are both studio microphones. So they're both ideally used in studio settings rather than live environments. Let's start with the AKG C414. So that's a large diaphragm condenser microphone, and that is a beautiful microphone for picking up the subtleties of the human voice or specific instruments, things like that. Really good microphone for those kind of things. The Aston Stealth microphone is a dynamic mic. So it's a little bit more robust than a large diaphragm condenser, which means it can sort of take a bit more of a knock, I suppose. Typically, that's if you see people singing into a handheld mic in a live scenario, they're using a dynamic microphone. The difference with the Aston Stealth is that it also has a 48-volt boost, so it can use phantom power to boost its signal, its gain, which means that actually it's slightly more usable for voiceover because it can pick up subtleties a little bit more and it can get that higher gain, which means you can get the volume of your recording a bit louder. So I've got these two set up here and I'm recording them both at the same time. They're not in exactly the same situations, but they're probably in the situations that I would set them in if I was to record them. The good thing about the dynamic microphone is that you could use that in a less than perfect acoustic situation. So somewhere where maybe there's a little bit of background noise and you haven't got brilliant acoustic treatment in the space. So this is a really good treated space. And I just thought I'd just test them like for anybody out there that's thinking about using a dynamic microphone for their voiceover versus a large diaphragm condenser. And this is a kind of difference between the two. They're definitely not horses for courses because the AKG is C414. That's going to cost you, I think, about £500 to £600, something like that for one of those. Whereas the Aston Stealth, I think, is more like £250 or something. Okay, so neither of them are cheap microphones, but the Aston Stealth is probably the higher range of a dynamic microphone, and the AKG C414 is a mid-range microphone. You can get large diaphragm condensers a lot cheaper, and you can get them a lot more expensive. So it's somewhere in the middle, I suppose. Anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of reading now, and then you can compare them whenever you want to. Chapter 4. The Rise of Representative Democracy. The Middle Ages, therefore, were a bit of a mixed bag. Peasants managed their day-to-day affairs, farming their own plots of land in whatever way they chose, and uniting to manage the commons. The monasteries also maintained their independence. They secured the support of the local peasantry through acts of charity, and they deferred to the Pope before obeying their monarch. The nobles controlled the regions and had armies of their own. Kings often exempted both the nobles and the clergy from taxation in order to maintain their support. And then, of course, we have the free towns. These sat alongside other corporations, the likes of the parish communities, royal towns and baronial jurisdictions, institutions which also had charters of liberties, rights and militias. To get the troops he needed to fight a war, or the tax revenues he needed to rule, the king had to negotiate with these powerful groups. It was a two-way street. These groups could serve the king, validating his rule, but they could also hold him to account, vetoing his laws, auditing his taxes, or rejecting his choice of successor. In time, this two-way relationship was formalized. Kings began to call representatives from these groups to form assemblies, the precursor of modern parliaments. The process first took place in northeast Spain. Mula, 2014. So there you go. There's something to listen to. Hopefully it gives you an insight into these two microphones. Certainly the large diaphragm condenser would be my choice for voiceover and audiobook narration, but like I say, if you have a less than perfect environment, then maybe the Aston Stealth might suit you.